Hey guys, welcome back to Nagali Park. This is going to be a half episode. I'm just going to say that right off the bat. So if you want to turn around, this is now the time. There's going to be no really useful Steam Workshop set. Today we're going to go over some things that I found pretty useful in order to make your terrain a little bit more varied, but also very controlled. Because the tools themselves will create jaggedy edges, kind of like that, cliffs and stuff like that. But there are ways to manipulate the terrain in such a way that you can get things that are incredibly smooth, like the bridges that I've got here, and the way that the terrain is pretty much following this path. And the secret is really not that hard once you kind of figure out how to use it. And so in the last episode, I showed you that I had this little thing down here. It is a straight piece of track with a very, very shallow sort of angle. And that's basically how I've been able to achieve this this incline. And so to try and do this without any sort of ruler is very difficult, because as you know, if you've ever played the game, your max size is this, which seems like a lot, but when you look at the constructs of the whole park, that is pretty tiny. And so to get large terrain changes over a kind of small area, what I found incredibly useful is to use something like this track here, because if I open up a car ride, I'll do a kitty ride. Terrain typically, if you have it, terrain doesn't go up that much usually, and a 12% increase in elevation, especially over a short period of time, that's actually asking a lot of somebody to walk up. So the cool thing about using something like this is you can see exactly what angle you are going to be going over for a long distance. And so if you only want it to go about 2 degrees, and you hit that one and you stretch it out. If you want it to curve, you can absolutely do that as well. And then you just kind of figure out what your angle is there and bring it up. And so once you have this set, I've got this inclined arch that goes into just a regular incline. What's really nice is that you can just take your terrain at this point with a very, very small intensity, because you don't want things to, if you do this, you can get way too far and it's very difficult to control. So you turn your intensity way down, you turn your size way up. Oops. And then on this, I'm going to just barely cover it. And once you've worked the terrain in, you can use the guide rail as a sort of, as a guide of the track, and make sure that it is still showing, but the track is disappearing. And that will give you a pretty good idea of how smooth your terrain and your path is going to be. Because then once you're done with a section, you can either bring it up like that, or I find it actually easier to bring it up like that, so the supports automatically start generating, because especially when we start getting into curves, what you can do is put it right in the center, and put it right in the center, and put it right in the center, and put it right in the center, so forth, and come on, so forth and so on. And so then all I have to do is start connecting the dots. And so there you go. It's relatively smooth. This would require a little bit more finesse for sure. But you can see that it is going up a very gentle, gradual incline. And that's exactly how I did this main path right here. But it does take a lot of finesse. The other thing that I see people do a lot when they are building out their paths, because the path system is rather unruly, they go full angle like that. You don't necessarily have to do that, and there is a way to get things that feel a little bit more like a lower slope over time, or I'm sorry, a lower slope over distance. Like I've got over here, you can see that this particular bridge is still raised above the waterline here, but the angle of the slope is much more gradual. So the way to do this is quite easy. It requires a little pre-planning for sure, like everything. But say I want to get to a level area, and I want to do that with this path piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to raise it up a little bit until basically it's where I want it. And that just kind of depends what you're doing in your project. But you create enough flat pieces there, you can always delete them. But what you're wanting to do is now you're just wanting to kind of auto-complete. There we go. Look at that. That is an incredibly gradual incline. But all you have to do is kind of use the game's mechanics to your benefit. And so this is a way to get some really good control over your paths. So even if you're doing like over a waterway or something like that, like I've got here, literally the only thing you have to do is connect one side here. Say you want it like really close to the waterline. So one right there. And then what I tend to do is I get a ruler of some kind. And it usually only has to be my favorite piece in the world, which is this 12-meter column piece. Bring it down and just have the top kind of match with the rest of the path. Oh, that has gone away. There we go. And so to get that exact same height, get down in there, again, make up my new path here, and bam. So all I have to do is connect the two. I can do a curved piece, or I can do it, no, I gotta do it this way. And then in the same regard, you just connect. So you create two connection pieces here, 1 and 2, about the same distance. And if you really want to make sure that they are the exact distance away, if you're really into that sort of perfection, I know some of you are, you could always use a ruler as well. So ruler edge to edge, right in the center, ruler, edge to edge, right there, connect it, and connect it. Really shallow angle to get up just a little bit. It's almost imperceivable. That's a really easy way to tame your paths. The last thing, this is another thing with pathing too, because you may want to have something like a raised area, and then you may want to have a kind of a staircase down like that. Let's see if I can get this drawn out. There's a few ways you can do it. If you don't know the heights that you're working with, you can do the same sort of queue method, where if you want to create a small staircase, even though people aren't going to use it very well, I'll probably go with a 10-foot anyway, just because of that problem. That's what you can do. And so you just try and line it up with your cursor. and then autofill your staircase. And so if you have that sort of, if that staircase looks good to you and you want to replicate it over a larger area, then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to create, again, a ruler. And so in theory, I should be able to replicate this now. And so now, if I take this away, move it over here, I should be able to create this exact same setup here. So, here we go. And now if I use my ruler as a sort of center guide, I can put in my first Q piece path, and then it's going to try and create this invalid kind of setup here. So I'm going to hit Control, and then I'm going to hit that bottom piece, and then I'm going to connect with a regular path, and voila! There you go. There is the exact same staircase, the exact same height and everything, and then I can just replicate that down the line. I hope this gave you some ideas today on how to better control your angles on your terrain and everything. The game, this game has some challenges, and so sometimes it takes a few little tools, a few little tips and tricks. And like I said in the previous episode, because the path system isn't changing for Plan Zoo, and if you expect to get that game and hope that that has changed, it hasn't. So the best thing to do would be to really get used to the tools. And there's that. Oh my god. So it's really going to be, it's going to be best for you to just kind of settle in and get used to the tools, because yeah, they're not changing. At least they're not changing for Plan Zoo, and that's going to be another 2 years that we have this game for. So learn the techniques now and become a master of paths and terrain. Next week, we will definitely have a brand new episode of the park. It will be episode 5. It's going to be covering this kind of shop area right here. I'm very excited to get to it because I really want to see this area fill up and not look so bland. So in the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope to see you in the next one. See you later, guys. Bye. Now I should be able to do this. Q, Q, and and it didn't work somehow. Bam. And then I hit Control to kind of cancel out what the game was just trying to do, which is trying to create an invalid Q situation. And right there. And I add a... Oh my fucking god. If I... Why? Oh my god. And then I go back to path. And I just... my freaking... gonna... Okay. Oh, this game just wants to